Okay, hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here. We're very excited about this presentation. My name is Susan Vignolo, and I'm the chair of the Professional Development Committee this year. This is our first webinar of this year. So this, I guess, August to August year. So we're very excited. I would like to just let everyone know that if you have a question, so please put it in the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end so that Hope isn't getting interrupted. So I would appreciate that. And I'm going to introduce Hope. Please join me in welcoming her. Hope Holroyd, MA, is the Public Relations and Marketing Coordinator for the Cherry Hill Public Library. She creates press materials for reporters and local news media, develops a social media strategy for marketing and content management across 7 social media channels, designs internal and external graphics and promotional materials in print and digital formats, maintains the library website and online events calendar, writes, edits, and distributes the monthly newsletter and other email marketing campaigns with Constant Contact, and works with the director, board of trustees, friends of the library, and departments on fundraising and sponsorship opportunities. She graduated from Rowan University with a bachelor's degree in public relations, advertising, and American studies. She earned her master's in strategic communication from Rowan University in 2019. Thank you so much, Hope, for leading us in this webinar. You can go ahead and share your screen. And
that was a lovely intro. Thank you so much. I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, so I am here to talk about social media strategic planning. Susan gave you my background and my education. I just started working here at the Cherry Hill Public Library in April, and it's been going really well, and really exciting things have been going on with our social media strategy. So strategic communication is kind of a broader term instead of just public relations or marketing. It kind of takes that and puts everything under the umbrella of strategic communication. So I'm going to talk about how to use it to reach your goals, provide insights and other resources to help with you design your social media plan. And I have my notes to the side here because I'm old school and I had to write them. So don't mind me if I'm doing that. So why you should use strategic communication when developing your social media. This allows you to monitor the awareness and opinions of your followers and library patrons as both inside and outside of the library. It allows you to use research methods to guide your messaging and the content you create for social media. And then also on this side of it, it really helps give concrete information to your administration on the current status of your social media metrics, and then measure how, when you introduce these new strategies, how it affects the analytics and if you're getting higher performances from those. When you're developing your plan and how to approach it, there's some formal and informal research methods that you can take to help guide your greater strategy and plan. So if you have the time to complete one of these, I highly recommend it. This is something that I would take time as I started and just take like 30 minutes a day and kind of do this analysis on my own while I had the free time and while I'm not creating flyers and helping promote the events. It really helps you get a better sense of where you're starting from if you're trying to make these changes. And that's just like if you did a content analysis that's looking at what is your engagement like? How do people engage with your content? Do you get 0 comments or do you get comments asking questions, things like that? Something like a survey can take a bit of time to develop, depending on how many questions you want. So if you had less time, you could set up informational interviews or a small focus group where you just take a half hour of people who follow, who'd be willing to come discuss with you how they use your social media platforms. Stuff like that is really invaluable when you're coming up with these strategies. So what kind of research do you need to help to develop your objectives? On this slide, I provided how I would conduct these specific forms of research. So if it was a content analysis, these are the things that I would do. A survey, link it in the bio, send it in your newsletter, have that sent out as you keep working on things. And when you get responses, that's how you can shift things around as people give you, because you don't know what people would think. Sometimes you think, oh, people don't like it because they don't engage with it, but people could like it. They just don't actually like or subscribe, because people are finicky when it comes to social media. And like I said, those focus groups or interviews, if you can set up that time to meet with people and get their opinions, that's really beneficial as well. So part of this means identifying your audiences. And this is a chart that public relations professionals use to identify those audiences. There's 4 types that you can identify. So internal, and those are the ones transmitting information within your organization. External, so anyone outside of it. Intermediary, links between internal and external. So that's where you have the board and you have donors and you have media who connects people with the library from the internal to the external. And then special, and these are the most difficult people to reach while developing your plan. And so having these identified audiences is really helpful, because as you develop your messaging, you can track who you're reaching from each. If you're reaching an internal audience or a special audience, you can figure that out with your messaging. This chart is a specific tool also used by public relations professionals to figure out how much effort it will take to reach and influence someone's behavior or decision. It's just another tool in your toolbox if you wanted to take a chart like this and figure out your audiences. This is how I developed ours while I was working on this when I first started. It shows the different priorities. So you start here, priority targets and maximum PR effort. So these people in this part of the chart are going to be the hardest people to convince to do anything for in terms of social media or any kind of strategic communication. That's all I wanted to say on that. Here it's called a message audience channel triad chart. Sounds very official and scary, but it's literally just you take a message, you pick which audience, and you figure out which channel you want to distribute that message from. So it's not necessarily something that you have to actually say in a post, but it's the overall message you're hoping your content gets to the audience, and then how you're going to do that. So for example, the first one there says Cherry Hill Public Library continues to provide a wide range of programs and events for all ages that engage both Cherry Hill and surrounding town residents. The audience there is our current patrons and card holders, and we reach them through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, our email, and our website. To reach our patrons, we create Facebook events, we post about our upcoming programs, we send out specific marketing emails to our email list. If we have a specific history program and we have a history email list, we're making sure we email those people. And again, this kind of chart is a high-level exercise that can make sure you're getting everything you want across in your messaging with what you create for social media. So there's 4 steps of the process, and these formal plans help identify your opportunities to then set your goals, objectives, your strategy, what you do to take the action and communicate, and then how you evaluate all of your new communication efforts. So the goals reflect the opportunity identified in your initial research. Um, Alongside that, it should fit in the context of your library's vision, mission, and operational goals. So if you have a formal strategic plan for your library, make sure the goals that you're setting for social media meet those goals as well, because you don't want to have to do double the work. And your opportunities, I have everything outlined later in the presentation, so it'll make sense. Your goal comes right before your objectives. So an example of that are one of the goals that I wrote was to improve the engagement and interactions across Cherry Hill Public Library social media channels and maintain a positive impression from continuing and new followers moving forward. Pretty straightforward, but it includes a specific audience, the channel which you're trying to reach people, and allows you to use those to then form your objective. So this is your goal, and then you're going to use these again in your objective. How do you write an objective? Objectives provide the focus and direction for the program strategies and tactics. They offer the guidance to those implementing the program and spell out the criteria for monitoring progress and assess impact. So objectives are really important, and it's great to make them measurable with a percentage and giving them a specific time range. So the example here is to develop new social media plans to increase engagement by 5% within the first 6 months of a new posting schedule. So like I said, I started in April, and I've started a different approach to social media since then, and I have been tracking the analytics every month to see the differences in the engagement rates. So that's something when you're ready to take an approach like this, and like a formal strategic plan, you need to make sure you have that baseline to track if you reach that 5% by the timeline you've set in the objective. So strategies can be a little confusing because you think, oh, we're talking strategic planning, it's all one thing. In terms of a communication plan, strategies refer to the overall concept. So overall, we're trying to develop new social media plans. How many strategies should you have? You should have 2 to 10 under that one objective. And an old professor of mine helped all of us understand how to write a strategy by telling us this really helpful rule. If it can become a hashtag, it's a strategy. It's not something that's meant to be lengthy. It's something short that captures the essence of what you want to create and how you'll use it to increase the engagement. So here was my first strategy, Heart of the Library. Very simple, and we did wind up making it a hashtag. So tactics, these are the tangible things that you're doing. So this is the social media video. This is the graphic you designed to go with the flyer. These are the actual things that you create. So our example here was design and create social media graphics of staff pictures with Q&As. So if you have looked at the Cherry Hill Public Library Instagram or Facebook at all, you'll see that we have started this. We have been posting about the staff of the library, and we've called it the Heart of the Library. I had staff fill out a survey. There was probably 10 questions. They didn't have to answer them all. And then the only thing that I required from them was them to also provide either a favorite quote or book recommendations. Because alongside the social media campaign, we also have bookmarks that we've made, and we have them available for everyone to take with them in the library. So you could give a quote or you could give books that we formatted them like this. So it is the social media aspect that also follows into when you come to the library, you can come find those. And we called it Heart of the Library because our library slogan is the heart of town. So it's the heart of town, we're the heart of the library. We thought it made sense. Evaluation takes place throughout the whole process. So as you're doing your research, you're taking in all of this information, you're evaluating what's working now, what's going to work later. It's really it takes place the whole time. So that's you have the formative research and the summative research. How are people interacting with your posts? How do they talk about it with other community members? Do people mention you in other Facebook groups or in comments on those other posts? This is really, you want to measure the impact of what you're posting and if people engage with it that way. With that comes with tracking the analytics, the comments, seeing if your follower counts increase or decrease. If you have those surveys and you have a specific date that you want to take the findings from to then create things from, make sure you're keeping track of that. Evaluation is really key. As I said, I started in April. If you looked at our engagement rate on Instagram in April, it was 1.66%. So we were having really low engagement on our Instagram page. When I changed the schedule, when we started using a social media management platform, and when I diversified the content between apps, we got higher engagement. So as of August, so the past 2 months, our engagement rate on Instagram has not been below 6.5%. So we've already reached that 5% increase within the 6 months. So that's why it's really important to have those measurable, tangible things that you're trying to do. We can see that it's working. This new strategy is working. And then the same for Facebook, we had a 3.04% in April and we're up to 6.67. So when you use a plan like this example, how you have your goal, the measurable objective, you take your strategy and then you have the things with it, you can increase the engagement on social media and reach as many people as you're trying to reach. Competition. So you're not just competing for people to pay attention to your library, you're fighting within everyone's general social media feed, which can get chaotic is because it's everyone's own algorithm and everybody makes their own. So while engagement percentages are really helpful for creating your content, don't get too lost if it doesn't immediately get to where you want it to be, because you really are fighting in the space of everyone's timelines to get the engagement that you're looking for. Another thing with this, I mean, my whole title is Public Relations and Marketing Coordinator, and I feel like I still don't have time to always dedicate to social media campaigns. It takes up a lot of time. This planning and developing this plan took up a lot of time when I first started, but it's been invaluable now as I have these tools that I use, and it's just, oh, I know this kind of post this day at this time is going to work better. And oh, we used to post, here's an example. We used to post about book clubs on Instagram and Facebook. They got 0 likes on Instagram. Why are we still posting on Instagram? We don't have to. We post about them on Facebook because that's where the engagement is. And people know about our book clubs because we also have emails. So we're not taking anything away. We're still posting about it on social media. People weren't engaging with it. There's no need to keep posting there. On this slide, I talk about the social media management tools. We use Hootsuite, and we were very lucky that our friends funded the subscription for us. If that's something you don't use, I highly, highly, highly recommend something like that. There are ways for you to schedule social media posts within Instagram itself and things like that, but a tool like this can only help you because it will tell you the best times to be posting, where your followers have the the analytics on their end to know that your followers are on Instagram at this time. So your post is more likely to be seen in the shuffle of posts. So highly recommend something like that. And then piggybacking off of that, understanding what each social media platform is used for. So kind of like I was saying, we posted about book clubs on Instagram. Well, Instagram is an image-based social media platform, so we're not getting likes or engagement. It was truly like we have 4,000 followers and we were getting 30 impressions on our book club post. So it truly wasn't making an impact. Um, so we're really trying to focus on image-based social media on Instagram. So pulling back on our event graphics because they do well on Facebook, promoting our events there. Making sure you're posting the type of content that it was made to share again. So something like Threads and X is where you could take your TikTok video and instead of posting the full video itself, link to your TikTok page, then you could get people to follow you that way. It is a trap that I still sometimes fall into myself of I spent all this time working on this video and I want everyone to see it, so I'm gonna post it everywhere, and it just doesn't always work. We've done that with a couple TikToks we had this summer. I would post a video on Facebook and it just didn't go well because not everyone on Facebook wants to be watching a TikTok. That's just how it works. So with that, be where your audience is. If you see that people are highly engaging on Facebook, make sure you're continuing to post the way that you should be posting there. As I talked about before with the audience chart, that's very, I don't know if you can all see that, but that's crazy. Anyway, back to the audience chart, I was talking about the special audiences, and one of those was like book consumers, people who buy books at Amazon and Target and Barnes and Noble. Reaching those people is really hard because people like to collect books and we're a library and books are free here, but then they don't get to keep them on their shelf. So something that I've been doing is going on Threads and engaging with the people as they talk about buying their books. It's really simple. You just respond to their posts. And every time I do that, we get really high engagement and we get more followers. So someone put out on Threads, I want to get back into reading and I don't know where to start. And other people were commenting, oh, get this book, get a Kindle, do this. And I said, start at the library. And we got high engagement for something like that. So that's how you use these social media platforms to reach all of those audiences that you can identify. But that you'll be able to see when this presentation is shared with you, there's a few things that have links on them. So this links to the Hootsuite 2024 annual report that they do. And in the report, they show trends of the social media platforms over the year. So this graph here just shows how confident people are in the return on the investment of the time of your time putting in the effort to create social media on these content platforms. I mentioned before the difference. So we don't post on X at all. What was Twitter? That doesn't mean that you should just jump on and make a Threads account just to make one. If you had a Twitter account and for us, it no longer aligned with our vision for the library. So don't just replace Threads with that. If you feel like you could reach people that way, by all means, join that. But make sure you're posting where you'll get the engagement, because that's the hardest thing with social media is you don't want to take all the time creating something like this for no one to see it and for it to make no impact on program attendance or things like that. Cross posting. I still fall into the trap too. It's like I mentioned, posting a video, you worked really hard on it, so you want everyone to see it. Again, my advice is to follow the purpose of the app. And also think about the content you're creating. How are you trying to use it? If it's something where you're using a graphic for Facebook, could you take, an hour and throw together the same messaging on the graphic and create a video for TikTok or Instagram saying the same thing? If you're inviting people to a program, instead of it being the graphic, get your librarians to invite people. People just want to be entertained on social media. That's what it's there for. And it kind of falls into that trap of, we want our events promoted. We're doing all these great programs. We have all these great resources. How do we make sure people see them? You have to find the balance between entertainment and self-promotion, and you don't want to fall into, like this graph says, you don't want to be too focused on self-promotion, or people will just keep scrolling past what your posts are. So these are a lot of helpful resources. There's that trend report that I said. Hootsuite has a ton of free tools and templates and style guides that you can just access for free, even without using their management tools. A couple other things. If you don't use the Associated Press style book, it's just the easiest, helpful thing to make sure everything you're writing is cohesive. And then when you're tracking this data, if you have to create a presentation or get your admin behind you with this, cannot recommend the book there, Storytelling with Data, enough. It really will help you get the point across of, if we do this, then this. And if you have a graph that just shows a line, this book will help you present the data in the best way possible. And then it is social media. So be creative, go for your big ideas. You don't know what's going to be successful unless you just try it. On this screen, we added Please Touch museum passes to our museum program. I'd spent 10 minutes on the design, and it kind of blew up on social media overnight. Overnight, we had 50 likes and 11 shares. And then on Facebook, we had 76 and more people were sharing it. You never know what's going to take off. So just try it and go with the trends. The girl math, we hadn't really gotten a lot of engagement on Threads, and I was trying everything and then randomly on a one-off, I was like, oh, remember that girl math trend? And I put that on Threads, and I mean, 117. We were all like, how does this keep getting? And people were commenting and engaging with it. It was amazing. And then we took that same post and then used it during the Olympics when that meme of Snoop Dogg was being put around. You never know when something's going to come back to you can use it to your advantage. And then over the summer, Chapel Roan was everyone's favorite. We had one of our librarians made the lobby display book bags to go, and we used Hot to Go to promote it, and that went really well too. So your analytics are the collection of data and metrics that help you measure your social media performance. These are the kind of things that you really want to be paying attention to. Your impressions and your engagement rate really will tell you if your difference in posting is making a difference or not, if it's making that impact and that change that you're hoping to see. So I'm going to walk through this whole example with you on different social media posts I made. This was a graphic that we put out for an event with the high school, one of the high school jazz band groups. Something with Instagram that we found really helpful over the summer. We started doing more. We had Rowan's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion did a cross post for our Juneteenth event as well. If you create the post from Instagram's backend, you can get someone to be a collaborator, and then it's posting to multiple accounts. And that helped with engagement a lot in terms of both of those events. Even when we cross post it with the account, it still kind of had low engagement on Instagram, which I was kind of expecting because at the time I was going through this serious planning and understanding these. So our program attendance was 83 people. When I actually posted a video of the jazz band, it got way more engagement than the event graphic, and that's just to be expected. I only posted one video on Facebook, and on Instagram, I did 2 videos and 2 photos. So you can vary your content that way as well. And that helps with engagement. This event, we were lucky that 6ABC came and we were on the 12 and 5 news cycle for this. That is not a regular occurrence. I sent them multiple times, hey, the jazz band's coming, and they just showed up. They didn't even call me to tell me. So, but again, that's another way. If you have an event like this, call the news station that will cover it, and they could come. And it's 30 seconds of news time that you get, but it's very exciting when it happens. And then while they were at the library, we had them pose with the instruments in the Library of Things. And the engagement was kind of still up on Facebook, but again, with Instagram, even though it had pictures and it's a photo first app, it still had less engagement. So here's a perfect example of what's working and what's not, and how can we reach people in different ways using these platforms. Oops. And again, you have the power to decide all of these things. You can say what's worth being posted where, when you have the analytics behind you. Just my advice for all of this is see where you're at and just try new things and see what works that way if you don't know where to start. And really going with the trends is easy to begin, because I'm sure people have seen, like, we're in the works of working on, but again, it takes so much time. The Gen Z writes the script for the video. We're working on one of those right now too, but again, it takes time. So if you see a trend like that, make sure you carve out the time to get on it and ride with the trend as it's going. And that's it for me. And I'll start answering questions. I can stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Hope, thank you so much. That was so interesting. I do not have questions in the chat, but anyone can feel free to unmute themselves if you have a question. No one? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to ask one question. Based on what you were saying, am I correct in interpreting that you seem to get the most feedback from Facebook? Is that where you get most of your engagement?
So our highest engagement numbers in terms of like event promotion is always Facebook.
Okay.
So we'll make a Facebook event specifically for the program, but then later we'll also promote it saying register, it's this day. When we can't create the event on Instagram the same way, when we post the event graphic, it gets significantly less engagement than the Facebook post does. So kind of the approach there is like, yes, we need to promote the event. We have it in the newsletter, but in terms of Instagram, a post that does better and you get that higher engagement is after the event happens, or while the event's happening, you take pictures and post them right away and saying this is going on. Kind of that approach of making sure you're putting the content on the app that will get the engagement, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. This is sort of a little off topic, but I'm curious if you think that you get the most engagement from Facebook because older people are on Facebook as opposed to teens? Do you think that's
So there's kind of two parts to that. Yes, in terms of like throughout the day, and the events that a lot of the events that we're promoting reach that target audience as well. So I think that's part of it, is that they're looking for events like that to go to. So they see the library events and they then register for them and engage with the content. We have separate accounts for our teens. Our teen librarian, Jasmine, runs the Instagram
oh my
and
God, she's
TikTok account.
amazing. She is
Yes.
amazing. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I'm big jealous of her. Okay.
Yeah, so she does all of the teen social media, and that's because they wanted the teen social media separate, and
Right.
that's something that she found. So that's what she
By
does.
they, you mean the teens want
The
it separate.
teens, yes, our team specifically asked for a separate
Separate.
Instagram account. So
Okay.
that's another thing. If you can have like that focus group, that interview, if you're trying to get these people to engage with your content, you don't know that your teens want a separate account unless you ask them, kind
Right.
of, you know. Um,
Yeah.
that was something that she was told by teens, and she said, okay, I'll make a separate one. That's how easy that was. There was no, um,
Right.
they help
How do you
run.
keep adults off of it? Or is that like a dumb question?
It's not necessarily that like we keep adults off of it. I think it's just that we don't promote the teen programs on our page the way that they're
Oh,
promoted on the
okay,
teen
okay, I
page.
see. I see.
Um, and then like she'll still send me pictures of teen events, and I'll post them on our main account and say follow the teens, or we'll do like those cross posts like I talked about, to where it's going to both. But
Okay.
it is something that like the content on that is so geared towards like read these books. Like I can't always post those things because librarians want more event promotion, and we
Right.
want to talk about this fundraiser coming up, and we want to, the book sales coming up. We have more things where teens care about, oh, I just want to read this book.
Right.
It's, like this awareness day that maybe the whole library is not posting about, but Jasmine will then post about it.
Okay.
Um,
No,
so,
that's super
and
helpful.
then with that, it's like, yes, there are like teens are on TikTok too, but again, they have the teen TikTok account. Um, and I think TikTok has just blown up and everybody's on it now. Kind of, it doesn't really,
Hmm.
older people don't care about it.
Right.
Um, but when you post what you're posting there, might like I don't I'm you're not like segregating content or whatever by age or whatever, but you know, they might not care about a chaperone hot to go bag video that went, like I said, I posted it on Facebook too, and it did not get high engagement because they don't know who chaperone is.
Right.
And that's what that came down to.
All right. We do have a question in the chat. It's how many people have access to post to your social media accounts, and do you have a social media policy?
Yes, our social media policy is on our website. It's very lengthy, and I couldn't tell you all of it off the top of my head. I'll tell you that I did sit and read it. We have had a lot of, I'm sure other people have had too, over the past month with Banned Books Week and Library Card Sign Up Month. We had higher engagement rates on social media. We had a lot of pushback on social media and a lot of comments that had to have been hidden and removed because it was getting crazy. But those are available on the public side of our website if you wanted to look at them. And then I can also send the link to go with the presentation after if you want kind of a guide to how to build a social media policy that way. In terms of running the accounts, I run all of them, but there is access, like for our computer lab, he has access to the YouTube channel, to help upload videos there. A couple people have access to the accounts like that, but they don't manage the posts regularly. They just have access. The only big thing that's really shared is that Jasmine runs the teen things, and then our fundraiser and volunteer coordinator helps put up all of the Facebook events. Just because there's so many
Right.
that we all, it's like, oh, I posted a couple that are around this time, and then she'll make sure the fundraisers all get up there, because there's only so many spots for those. So she helps run the events, but like the Instagram, the TikTok, every like regular Facebook post that aren't events, those are all me.
Okay.
And it is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, I will say there's a lot of people who watch trends the way that I do. And like our circ team is really great. And they'll say, have you seen this trend yet? And sometimes I haven't because I'm on social media all day, don't really always go on it at home. So they'll say, oh, there's this trend, we want to do it. And then it's like, okay, let's figure out how we're going to make it happen. That's kind of like the Gen Z writes the script to the video. I'm not Gen Z. So I can't write the script. So we had to have one of our team pages help write the script. She's been working on it and working with someone in circ. So I have the time to do all these other things that we have to do regularly. But it is a really fun trend and it's a really fun idea. It just was one of those, I don't have time to figure out how to write this script. If we can get someone to write it, then I will we'll record the video, I will edit it all, and we will post it out.
Okay. I have so many questions right now. What does that mean? Gen Z writes the script. Is that a metaphor that means something? Because I'm not.
No, that is a trend going around right now on TikTok and Instagram, is that
Okay.
someone who is Gen Z with all the, vernacular that goes with it. And
Okay.
that's where to me, it's like, it does not make sense to me. I don't know what it means.
Oh,
I
good.
don't
I
have
feel
to
better.
say it. I'm a cusper. I'm a zillennial. That's what I call myself. But I'm the youngest of four, so I had more millennial influence than Gen Z influence. So it
Okay.
doesn't make sense to me when all of these things, like it's all being said. Um, so we had someone who's much younger write the
Okay.
script, and um, what's an example? A lot of museums started it first, on TikTok, and they would walk around the museum and uh is like Brat Summer is over and all these other things. Like truly, I don't know what they all mean.
I
Um,
tried to get my 16-year-old all summer to explain to me what brat summer is, and I'm still not sure I get it. Other
I
than
get
it's
the
associated
concept.
with neon green.
I get the concept. I get the idea. Like Brat Summer is a vibe. I get all of that. But again, like the young kids don't say is a vibe.
Right.
This is where the disconnect is for me. So when people point stuff out like that to me, it's like, cool, can you help me do it? Because I have to run the newsletter and I have to make sure that all these other posts are going out and, we're trying to do this or we're reaching out to the Cherry Hill Sun because they want to write an article about this. Like we have all the other things going on that take creating content like that. If you have people on staff who keep up with the trends, ask them for their help because
Right.
that's where it's invaluable for getting. I mean, those are the fun posts that you really want engagement. We did one. And again, it was the circ team was like, have you seen the libraries on fire trend? And I was like, what? And the whole trend is that the library's on fire, you got to grab stuff. And I said, cool, who's doing it?
Right.
Let's do it right now. Like that's how
Right.
that went. And we got a ton of engagement on that video. So it's
Huh.
just, yeah, carving out the time and making sure people on staff know, like, keep up with things with me. And it's not all, you want the library to have these cool posts. Cool, I do too. Let's work
Right.
together that way.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have a question?
I have a question. I'm Tanya Chavone from the Monroe Township Library in Middlesex County. Thank you so much for doing this. This is very helpful.
Mhm.
My question is, about your Instagram versus Facebook posts. And
Mhm.
yes, I can see how the engagement differs based on the platform. Our township has probably 20, 55 and older communities. So understandably, we have a lot more Facebook engagement than Instagram. Is it detrimental? Because I use the Meta Business Suite to schedule my posts. So I use the same graphic, I
Mhm.
size it for Instagram and I post it to both places with the same caption. Um, and I might tweak the hashtags a little bit depending upon who I'm tagging. But is it detrimental to have, let's say, you post the same image with the same caption, with the same hashtags to both platforms? Now, one gets, let's say, 70 likes and one gets 3. Am I doing myself a disservice by posting that 3 to Instagram, or is it kind of no harm, no foul?
That's kind of where like you have to be the judge. If you have like if your follower ratio to that makes sense for your Instagram account, um that's I will say that I still do that as well. I'll post something to Instagram and Facebook. If it really gets no engagement, one of my favorite things on Instagram is the archive button, and I'll just archive the post and have it not to where, we did post about it if you wanted to find it before. Um, but as the weeks keep going and it falls further down the feed, we can just hide it. I wouldn't say that it's ever detrimental, but that's kind of like if it's not working, don't feel like you just have to keep posting the same thing in the places, if that makes sense. Because I know it is hard, the balance of like we're trying to get people to sign up for these programs, and you could find one person who found it on Instagram and then signed up, and in that aspect it is beneficial because you're getting more program signups. So I think it just depends on the kind of engagement you want from the posts. If it is like the go sign up for the program. I'll say with that, I've tried to be, I've tried to come up with ways of how I know it's going to get better engagement on Instagram versus I can just post one thing on Facebook. A good example of that is we added a new database. I knew I could just post about the database on Facebook and people would like it and share it. I knew that if I did the same post on Instagram, people would scroll past it. So instead of making it just about the database, I did a carousel on Instagram of what did you know the library offered this? And the first thing that they would see was new database at the front, but then it also went through the library of things and the ebook platforms that we have and the newsletter and how to access the high school yearbooks. So that's where it's like it's not a detriment for you to post that content on Instagram. It's kind of like how can you think of it in a more creative way where you'll get the higher engagement that you see on Facebook, if that makes sense. And I know it is hard because it is like you want to promote your programs and your resources, but like we did the posts for the database the same day, the same time. It was just one was just the database and one was here's all these cool things that the library has for you to scroll through.
All right, I'm just taking a note.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Anybody else have a question? Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. Hope that was amazing. I think a lot of people got some good advice and good tips, and we appreciate your time so much. I will be sending out the slides, and Hope's going to give me a link to the social media policy, right? And then if anyone thinks of a question later, you could reach out to me, or I'm sure you can find Hope. Is your email on the slides, Hope?
It is. It's on the
Okay.
list on the slides. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, then I'm going to say thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.